Played a little bit of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. at the Select Committee last week in America, putting his case forward for lots of things. But one in particular is he wants to change how Americans eat and drink. He's for years advocated that the population is being poisoned. He used the words poisoning. And he wants to target junk food. He said there's going to be a big shake-up. But as I said before, about $500 billion US dollars is in the supermarket industry is ultra processed food. I mean, that we're so much money. Basically, it's about 850 billion New Zealand dollars every year. So he would have to take on, some of the big players, the FDA being one of them. But he has got support. And I said back here, we know we've got our problems. 1 in 3 adults obese, 1 in 10 kids obese, further 2 in 10 overweight. We know that excess weight leads to many health conditions, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, stroke, several common cancers, sleep apnea, and even reproduction abnormalities in adults. So, are we getting anywhere? Because we talk about it a lot. No government, it seems, wants to take on taxing sugar. But many schools have eliminated bad food from their tuck shops. But kids still eat highly processed food. And I believe in self-responsibility and personal accountability. But what role do food manufacturers also play in this? Should they be forced to cut, say, the food dyes, which is something Robert Kennedy Jr. is hot on. There's a red. Oh, well, there's lots of colours, but I think red's one of them. Last, Nikki. And also ingredients that give their products longer shelf life. And should they, what should we be looking at them? Nikki Hart's a registered nutritionist. She's had decades of experience helping people achieve their nutritional goals. She's been with us before. And it's good to have her back on the show for 2025. Nikki, good afternoon.
Hey, Leah. Lovely to hear your voice, my dear. Happy New Year.
Made it into another year. Woohoo! Here we go. Nikki, first, before we jump into it, when we talk processed, what exactly are we talking for processed food?
Well, see, that's the key question, because most food has had some kind of processing unless you're eating fresh fruit and vegetables that haven't been packaged. For example, a bagged salad is likely processed because it's been, you haven't bagged it yourself, you bought it bagged, right? So there's levels of processing. I think when we're talking or we're looking at it from a Western issue, the thing is how much of a product has been manipulated with saturated fat, salt and sugar. And those are your big ultra-processed things. Those are the potato crisps and the biscuits and the fast foods and those kind of things.
So when we look at it, if we're going shopping in that, when we say, processed food, we are looking at obviously chips, potato chips, chocolates, all that kind of stuff. But what about like frozen foods? Because, that's convenient to buy like a frozen pre-made dinner. How do we know that that's not full of the bad stuff?
And see, this is the thing. This is why when clients come and see me, I'll say to them, you need to shop around the perimeter of a supermarket because that's where all the fresh food is. So if you look at your supermarket, if you walk in the front door, you're usually captivated by colour first, because they usually put fruit and vegetables fresh first that it catches you and attracts you into the store. Then if you can actually just look at the outside of it, it's usually the bakery section where it's fresh bread, then it's like a deli section, then it's a meat counter or seafood counter, and then
it goes to milk and then dairy.
The dairy. Yeah, and they usually put dairy right in the back corner to make you walk right through the supermarket and hopefully go up and down the aisles where most of the processed food is.
When I went in for milk, I see, and I've gone up and down all the aisles as well.
Yeah, totally. Because you don't. So there's a real marketing thing to getting you to shop in a supermarket.
I'd heard that, Nikki, a few years ago actually. Now that they've paid multi-millions to work out not only where to put the food in the supermarkets, but the colours, the lighting, if they the size of the aisles. It's an actual plan. I mean, very clever.
Absolutely.
Like they get psychologists in.
Yeah, and we've got a supermarket close to us, and on, I think it's a Wednesday, they have quiet hour. So for people
yes, they
with
do too.
issues and
Yeah.
just sensitivity to light and music, that it's darkened and there's no music on at that time, so you don't feel overwhelmed. So it's really interesting, everything that goes on in supermarkets. But when you think about it, supermarkets are relatively new things. Like if we look back to my grandmother and how she used to shop, she would actually walk down she would walk down to like her grocer. So there'd be a little grocer, there'd be a fruit and vegetable shop, there'd be a butcher, and she would shop at each of them. And then often a young man would come with a bike and he would drop her groceries back for her.
I love that.
I know. So supermarkets is a new phenomenon, but they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Do you know, I just read something today when I came on air. They're opening the biggest pack and save in Auckland.
Yeah.
Very shortly. That's, I'll find it. It's going to be, actually, Kelly, if you could look that up, that'd be great.
Yeah,
it's going to be like,
it's out East Auckland or something. It might be on the North Shore. I'm not sure. But yeah, you're right. It's going to be.
You literally need to Uber around it.
Yeah, probably. Right. So when you think about processing, though, you've got to think, okay, at what level? For example, I know that here in New Zealand, a lot of food companies are decreasing the amount of sugar and salt and fat in their products by stealth. So sometimes they're not telling you what they're doing. Like I know that way back in the day, when you used to have tinned fruit and syrup, so canned fruits like for Watties or whatever, I know that they've quietly over time reduced, I think, to about, they've had a 40% reduction in the amount of sugar they use in canned fruit and syrup. So they've done that already. So a lot of companies, yes, we're trying to, there's talk of regulating them as well, but some companies are doing a really good job.
Why would they do it by stealth, Nikki? Why are they not proud to say that?
Well, I just think they don't want to tell you it's a sugar-reduced product because some people go, well, I like it as it was. But the thing is, they're doing it to go, well, actually, it's good for us. We're not going to use so much sugar, and it means it's good for you as well from a health perspective. And a lot of companies are also giving you alternatives, right? So they're doing, so if we just keep it at canned fruit, so you've got fruit and syrup, fruit and juice, and fruit and spring water. So you've got options in which to select it.
So do you think then we have a problem in New Zealand with processed food? Do you think our kids are bombarded with it? Do we have enough choice to not have to buy processed? I mean, I would say yes, we have. We're the fruit bowl of the world, aren't we? And we've got the best meat, we've got the best meat, the best produce. I mean, there should be no reason except the fact it's really expensive, Nikki.
Yeah, and it's expensive for a couple of reasons. It's expensive because the best produce is exported overseas, so that's important for us to know. And we are one of the biggest importers of refined things like sugar and flours, and like we import that stuff. So we're exporting all our good stuff, and then we've got a problem now with poverty. And I think the issue with poverty and malnutrition go together. So then it's easier to eat cheap, refined food that has no nourishment, and then that's making our population less healthy and more prone to disease.
Can you explain the food dyes? Because I know that the dye they put in food, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is quite hot on that. He said there's especially the red, colour red. Do you? What is it with the food dyes?
It's to make your food look pretty, right?
So it is really just purely. It's just purely for look. To make it look.
When you think about it, if you were going to try and preserve, say, strawberries, they go a bit grey sometimes, when you kind of stew fruit. And so what they do is they'll add a colour to it to make it look prettier. We do know now, though, that there are some, because they're being tested all the time, that they're being looked at closely as are they problematic. And what I think people need to really hold firm on is here in New Zealand, our Ministry of Primary Industries that do all of the research and all of the testing are not just looking at the states, they're looking at European research and Scandinavian research. So we don't just take our research from America. So you can be assured that there's a lot of work being done to make sure that whatever's being used here is safe to consume.
Right. Nikki, what's your thoughts, your personal thoughts on the role of, say, eating good food? And I know poverty comes into it, and a lot of people are forced to kind of go for the cheaper stuff. But is it because I'm big on self-responsibility, right? And taking it onto yourself, saying, look, I'm an adult, I know what I should be eating. Or do you think it's for kids, it's parents, because the kids can't, they can't, when they're young, they don't buy the groceries, they don't cook their meals. Or the government, or is it, should the government step in?
Well, I'm of the mind that if you are growing up in an environment where poverty is extreme and you've got generations of ill health in a family, it's endemic, right? It becomes this thing where you just eat the same things because your parents and grandparents did it. I think we've lost some skills. I think there's a lot of people out there that don't know how to cook. Like, you've either got foodies or you've got people that don't know how to cook. Like, I've got some
I'm
young
over foodies,
young
Nikki. I'm over people posting I'm a foodie.
Oh, I don't know, I like being a foodie. But I think you can be a foodie and healthy. I think you can do both, right? And I think we need to I think the garden to table thing that's in schools is a great idea, because they're teaching kids where food comes from, but they're also teaching them cooking skills. Because, there's some kids out there that could hotwire a computer, but they don't know how to poach an egg. So it's kind of, so
that's bang on. Yeah.
It is, right? And so we actually have to kind of make it so that it's easy for people to choose healthy. I think it's hard for them to choose healthy when they don't have the budget for it. And I think that's the crux of it. I think poverty is the crux to our problem with